So coming to Judah as one of Israel's children, Israel gives his promise, Genesis chapter 49, beginning in verse 8. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. You are a lion's cub, O Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs, and the obedience of the nations is his. You will tether his donkey to a vine, his colt to the choicest branch. You will wash his garments in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. Sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? Yeah. So there's a couple things that we should draw from that. Well, you could draw on many things from that, but a couple main things. One is the likening to a lion, so that's, of course, power, but also power in what regard? And a lot of us will associate lions with kingship, but that's going to be a little bit later on, where it says, the scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet. So this is actually promising that Judah will be the kingly tribe. So Levi is the priestly tribe, Judah is the kingly tribe. So in terms of birthright, that would have gone to Reuben as the firstborn. He would have ruled over his brothers, but it's been given to Judah. Now, of course, there's also the dream of Joseph, where Joseph was seeing himself as the one to whom the others bow down. But this seems to be more within the realm of his immediately bringing about salvation for his brothers, rather than something that continues on and on and on. So Judah is the one who's receiving the birthright as the tribes are going about later on. But this seems to be kind of odd, considering what Judah did. Because when we're actually talking about Joseph's story, the main reason why he was in Egypt was because of Judah. And Joseph knows this, because Judah was the one talking about it. So when the brothers had calmed down and decided not to kill Joseph, Judah was the one who suggested that they sell him into slavery. So Judah was actually trying to remove his brother, which is a pretty evil offense as it is, but he's also trying to gain more support for himself. So does that mean that Judah is going unpunished? And I'd say not exactly. More accurately, he's going forgiven, but that's going to be a decent story. So Judah's story really picks up after Joseph is sold into slavery. So in Genesis chapter 38, we have Judah and Tamar. So Judah, he marries a Canaanite woman, and he has 3 sons. Onan, and Shelah. And that's going by birth order. And Judah, he finds a woman to marry his son. And so the woman is Tamar. So he gets her to marry his firstborn, Now, he's not good. In many senses. God actually kills him for being basically an unbeliever and blasphemer. So dies. And in accordance with Old Testament law, not that the law has been written yet under Moses, but in that understanding, like, there is still a birthright, and the oldest son still has a birthright. So in order to continue that birthright, the wife is to go to the next eldest brother, and he will impregnate her, and that child will be reckoned according to the dead brother. So the dead brother's family will be resurrected, as it were. And that's the whole point of this, is that you're resurrecting that part of the family. Now, Onan, who is the next one along, Onan does not like this, because if he has a child by Tamar, that would mean that the child born to her would actually get the lion's share of Judah's inheritance. Onan doesn't want that. He'd rather have his brother's line die out completely so that he can get more stuff. So what Onan does is he still takes Tamar and then he spills his seed on the ground. So pull-out method for that. So at once he's disobeying God. He's committing adultery with Tamar rather than actually doing his duty. So he's using her for pleasure instead of actually understanding that he has to do this for his brother and the brother's household. He's also coveting his brother's house because he wants all this stuff. And just kind of living in unabashed sin there. So God, understanding this is happening and Onan being just as bad, if not worse, than his older brother who God kills Onan. So now Judah has one son left, Shelah, and Judah goes, oh crud, he's just as big an idiot as the other two. He's not going to survive this. So he tells Tamar, well, look, Shelah is not of age yet. Don't marry him yet. Just stay around. Just stay around in the household. Now, Tamar decides to stick it out, but she realizes over time that that Shelah, that he's grown up, that he is marriageable, but Judah is not allowing her to do her wifely duty. He's not. So Tamar, she takes things into her own hands, and this is sinful all around. And she kind of disguises herself and goes to the side of the road. Now, Judah, when he's going along that side of the road, he sees this woman, thinks that she's a temple prostitute, and says, well, I would like some. So then he goes in and has relations with her, but he doesn't have any money on him. So he gives her his seal as a pledge. Staff and a seal as a pledge. So the symbols of his authority and personhood. And he sends his servant to follow up with this, give her some money later on. But he goes there, finds there is no young woman, and the people around are like, there's no temple prostitute whatsoever. So Judah's like, good, I've been had. But a few months later, it's found that Tamar is now showing with pregnancy. And Judah gets pretty infuriated about this, because, like, how dare she have relations with not one of my sons? So she's being an adulteress. So he's about to have her killed for adultery. But he asks, well, who did this to you? And she said, well, whoever had these. And she shows him his own stuff. And he goes, and what he could have done is he could have tried to cover this up. He could have tried to save himself, but he isn't interested in saving himself. What he actually does is he now publicly declares that he is a sinner and that she is actually more righteous than he is right now. Not that she's righteous, because she still sinned, but she is more righteous than him. So he repents of this. He officially makes her his own wife, but he never touches her sexually again. So he wants to do right by God, so he wants to completely change. And from that pregnancy, there are twins born, which also makes sense because twins run in the family, so you have twins in this lineage. As Jacob was also the twin, yeah. Again, Genesis theme, blessing is given to the younger. Prince is actually going to be given the line of kings. Well, you know. But in any case, Judah repents. Judah decides to raise these children as his sons because they are his sons. And Judah reforms. Okay. So this has bearing on what's going on with Joseph later on. So when the brothers go into Egypt, like they have a couple back and forth with Joseph. The second time is when Joseph makes it appear that Benjamin will be locked in the prisons for, well, until he dies for stealing the cub which Joseph planted. Because Joseph basically just wanted his brother back. He just wanted to see his brother. Like as soon as the others left, he would have freed Benjamin and revealed everything to him. But the other brothers don't. The brothers don't know this yet. Not even Benjamin. So when they come back and plead, please don't take Benjamin away. It's Judah who is the most vocal. So he's begging and pleading, do not take Benjamin away. Like, it was my fault that the one brother who isn't here, the brother who's presumably dead, is gone. It's my fault. I can never do this again. Please, please, put me in prison instead of Benjamin. Let me take his place. Just let him go free so that he can go back to our father and that he can have this good relationship. I deserve this. Put me in prison. And then that's when Joseph breaks down and weeps and reveals who he is, because he realizes Judah, the one who had been the prime driver for Joseph going into slavery, for going into the hellhole that he was in. Judah is the one who's willing to take that place in the hellhole so that he can save his brother. So Judah has reformed, he has changed, he has been given the new life in Christ as we understand it, even before Christ has come. And thus, Joseph forgives his brother. So it's a very wonderful thing that's happened. And this really does show the power of God and the power of repentance. Because it does change you so that you may do what is good and right in the world once more.
Doesn't Christ come through Judah?
Yes. So as I was saying, even though you have Reuben, Simeon, and Levi lose their place in the birth order, or birthright, I guess I should say, because of the evil things that they've done, Judah, though he did evil things, has not lost it. He actually regained it because he was lost and he was found. He repented and he believed. So he gets the line of kings. So as time goes on, you eventually get to King David, who's the first king. First king of the lineage of David, I guess you could say. And King David will eventually have Jesus, and Jesus is the messianic David of whose reign there is no end and who's currently reigning now. So when we have the prophecy in Genesis 49, the scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet. This can really be said of Jesus, that he is the one who will reign eternally. Whereas all the finite human kings from Judah were not both man and God like Jesus. All the finite kings, they eventually have to continue on the kingship by giving it to another. But even that has its challenges, as the line of kings basically disappears for nearly 400 years there until you get to Jesus taking it up with his throne at the cross. Oh, okay. Actually, the last thing that I should mention is the land of Judah. With King David. Let me start with King David. So King David, when he takes control over the kingdom, he's also taking control over the land of Judah itself. As he's the king over all of Israel, so logically he would also be the ruler over Judah. So David, he tries to remove the last vestiges of some of the foreigners from the land. One of them would actually be from Jerusalem itself, because that was inhabited by the Jebusites. So what David does in one of his first acts as king is actually take over Jerusalem and renames it as Jerusalem. Before it was Yebus for the Jebusites. So he renames it Jerusalem, places his palace there, and also sets things up for creating the temple. Now, the temple isn't built under David, it's built under his son Solomon, because David is a man of blood. He was the one who was cleansing the land with the blood of this, from the blood of the sinners that were all around there. So his son, who was going to be a son of prosperity and peace, Solomon, was the one who would be properly building the temple. So when you have Jerusalem, Jerusalem as the center of the land of Judah was also the center of the kingly nature of the people, as well as the religious life of the people with the temple. So you need to have Jerusalem, otherwise the people of Israel fall apart. And it does pretty much fall apart right after that. I won't go through the whole lineage of kings, but Solomon does sin even after he builds the temple, and unabashedly so. And God favors Solomon for David's sake. So the issue actually comes up with Solomon's son, Rehoboam. And what Rehoboam does is he hears complaints from the people that they're being worked too hard, that they would like some time to enjoy the prosperity brought about by Solomon. And then Rehoboam listens to Solomon's advisors and they say, yeah, that makes sense. And then Rehoboam talks with his young friends, and then they go, no, screw them. We want more stuff. Make them work even harder. And then Rehoboam goes to the people and is like, no, I will make you work even harder. You will. So the people revolt, and that divides the kingdom north and south. So it's almost exclusively Judah in the south for the most part. Benjamin does hang on, but and Simeon kind of dissolves. But yeah, the other people, since they're in the north and they're cut off from Jerusalem, the temple, they go into apostasy, unbelief, and paganism pretty darn fast. And they really lose their place as a people. So with the idea of the lineage of kings, they're not only just to rule the people, but also to keep the proper religious life intact. Which is something lost on a lot of our politicians today, who are actually supposed to be protectors of religion instead of what some of them try to do and become dictators of religion, or create their own religion, such as in North Korea. But I digress.